Tell me why I just said to myself I'm going to slow down with my reading, and meanwhile my fall TBR is over 25 books. I don't get it. Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sandra. I love books, I love writing, I love movies, and fall time is my favorite season. Yes, I'm cliche that way. Fall just reminds me of a new year of opportunity, a new year to learn things, and it's the best time to take walks because it's not too cold, it's not too warm. Honestly, fall is the perfect time of the year, and I think I've never been depressed or as depressed in the fall time. So I know a lot of people feel the opposite towards fall, but for me, chef's kiss, that's what fall represents to me. So without further ado, let's get into the books I want to read this fall. I am in the middle of a few books, but mostly what we're gonna see here is vampire books. We're going to see some memoirs, some recently released, and some books that I want to finish because they're part of a series. I also have a little bit of dark academia, and I think that's about it. I think that's the gist of it. So let's get right into it. So the first two books I want to read here, I want to reread The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde because I haven't read this book since my undergrad, and I just love Oscar Wilde so much and I want to revisit him. Every year I have to watch people reading The Picture of Dorian Gray for the first time, and I just get so jealous. So I think now enough time has passed that, you know, the story is not as fresh in my mind, so I'm going to read it. I also have The Last Man by Mary Shelley. This is another book that is sci-fi heavy, and this is actually a very pretty long book. It's longer than Frankenstein, but as you guys know, I love Mary Shelley so much. And this foreword is written by Rebecca Solnit, and I love her work as well, so I just know I'm in for a good time and I picked the right edition. Then we have two vampire books. The first one we have is Fever Dream by the one and only George R.R. Martin. I don't know anything about this except that it's icy winter of 1857, and from there I guess we follow the whatever is happening. I got this book. It's called Thirst by Marina Hughes. I tried to read this at the beginning of the year and I failed horribly. So this one says, across two different time periods, two women, one vampire, one mortal confront a yearning that will not let them rest. A breakout genre-blurring novel from an exciting new voice of Latin America's feminist gothic. So it basically has everything I love in fiction, and I just know that I'm gonna enjoy this. I think this was marketed for people that love Carmilla, but I could be wrong, so can't wait to read this one. So since I hauled these 4 books in my previous video, I'm going to go quickly through them, and either way they're non-fiction, so it's pretty self-explanatory. I have Devotion by Patti Smith, and this is about her life as a writer. I also have As a Man Thinketh. It's a small book of philosophy and about thinking and reflection. I have How Romantics and Victorians Organize Information, commonplace books, scrapbooks, and albums. Again, I talked about this in the previous video and it's pretty self-explanatory. I'm just very much obsessed with commonplace books, and I've been commonplacing in the last few months, so I just want to learn more and see examples. And then I also have Upstream by Mary Oliver, which is a collection of essays in her style of writing. I believe this one's going to be perfect because I was talking about how I wanted more nature related stuff. I will be showing at the end some of the poetry that I'm reading that are very nature heavy. Then I want to read Poor Things by Alasdair Gray. The reason why I want to read this even more now is that I heard someone describe this as a kind of Frankenstein retelling in a very feminist but also sexist way. So I'm very confused. It says here, what strange secret made rich, beautiful, tempestuous Bella Baxter irresistible to the poor Scottish medical student Archie McCandless? Was it her mysterious origin in the home of his monstrous friend Godwin Baxter, the genius whose voice could perforate eardrums? This story of true love and scientific daring whirls the reader from the private operating theatres of late Victorian Glasgow through aristocratic casinos, low-life Alexandria, and a Parisian bordello, reaching an interrupted climax in a Scottish church. It sounds insane, and I really want to watch the movie, so I definitely need to get through this by this fall time. And then the two books that I hauled previously, I have Changer Méthode by Edouard Louis. This is like a biography of his life. I just read here today that he's also one of the translators of Anne Carson's poetry, and Anne Carson's a very well-known Canadian poet and translator of Greek myths, and that just made me even more intrigued and even more inspired to pick this book up. I have Alphabetical Diaries by Sheila Heti. Again, I'm going to explain this quickly. This is basically her going through her diaries and alphabetizing them. Every word in every chapter starts with like the letter A and then B, and then she makes her way through and she crafts a narrative out of that. So I'm just so intrigued and I can't wait to read this. I'm just holding off on my audiobook loan. Then I have this book, The Adult by Bronwyn Fisher. I also mentioned it previously. This is basically about a young undergraduate and she becomes enamored with an older lady, and then it's also set at the University of Toronto, which is what compelled me to pick it up, I'm gonna be honest. I also have this beautiful book. Yes, it's the new Sally Rooney book, Intermezzo. I actually placed a loan at my library, so I'm just going to have to wait maybe towards the end of the season to read this one. But it's about a story of two brothers, and it follows their lives. One is a Dublin lawyer and the other one is what? And the other one is a competitive chess player. So I think tragedy strikes and they have to reconnect, and for two grieving brothers and the people they love, this is a new interlude, a period of desire, despair, and possibility, a chance to find out how much one life might hold inside itself without breaking. So yeah, I think it's after the passing of their father. Then I got Big Swiss by Jane Began. Again, I mentioned this in the previous video. I just got my audiobook loan quicker than I anticipated, and this one is about a sex therapist transcriptionist who falls in love with one of the patients. The premise just sounds crazy and intense, and I can't wait to start this book. The next two books are part of a series, and I read the first book because I went to see the author live in Toronto for the Toronto International Festival of Authors. And I read the first book, I loved the first book, and now I'm halfway through the second book, which is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, Tales from the Cafe by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I'm sorry if I butchered that. And I have the third book as well, which is Before Your Memory Fades. I definitely want to order the fourth and fifth book, but right now I'm just trying not to spend any more money on books for now, so I'm just going to finish reading these ones and then probably order them at a later date. I also have Paradise Brought by Jenny Haval, and I just feel like this is going to be a perfect book for the fall time. It says Joe is in a strange new country for university and having a more peculiar time than most. In a house with no walls, shared with a woman who has no boundaries, she finds her strange home coming to life in unimaginable ways. Joe's sensitivity and all her senses become increasingly heightened and fraught as the lines between bodies and plants, dreaming and wakefulness blur and mesh. Apparently, from what I've heard, this book is really gross because it really does focus on that aspect of rotting, but I don't know, I haven't read it. I also am halfway through this book, which is a new release, and it's A Dark and Drowning Tide. So it's like sapphic academic rival between a young woman that's a naturalist, and she's basically fighting to get her spot and to get the recognition that she deserves, because compared to her rival and the other people in the group, in the cohort, she's the one that's the other. And yeah, I am enjoying this. I am filming a little bit of a vlog. I'm not sure if I want to continue filming that vlog because I did read the first half in one go, so I didn't really absorb as much as I wanted to. But I am definitely enjoying it, and that's why I read the first half really quickly. So I just need to sit down and, read through the second half. Then I have 3 nonfiction books that are more like self-help oriented. I have The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. There are no limits to the prosperity, happiness, and peace of mind you can achieve simply by using the power of the subconscious mind. And then I have Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza, which is How Common People Are Doing the Uncommon. I definitely will film a video after reading these two books and discussing what I've learned and what I agree and don't agree with for my second channel. And I also want to read The Millionaire Fast Lane, Crack the Code to Wealth and Live Rich for a Lifetime by M.J. DeMarco. And the last three books of my pile are part of a series that I've been reading. So this one is Heartstopper Volume 5 by Alice Oseman. I ordered this when it came out and I never got around to reading it. And now that the new season 3 is coming out this week, actually I think it's coming out today as I'm filming this. I still want to read this and watch this around the same time, although that they're not at the same season. I also have Saga Volume 11. I also want to read this because obviously I love the series and I've just been procrastinating. So definitely want to read these two books on days where I feel like sluggish and whatnot, and I want to have something to enjoy and to look at. I have Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. I'm late reading this book. I think I put it off initially because I was scared to read it, and then I heard so many bad reviews or like reviews of people that did not enjoy it as much as the other two books of the long series of the Shadowhunters. Is part of the Shadowhunters world, and I don't know, I feel like deep down I'm just not ready to say goodbye, but now it's time for me to say goodbye because she has a new series. I went to the signing for the new series that was back last year. Yes, last year. So it's time for me to read this one and start her new series because the second book of her new series is coming in March 2025. So those were the books that I want to read. Those are the books on the pile. I will insert a clip of the books that are sitting on my desk. I'm so lazy to just pull them out, so I'm just going to flip the camera, show you those books that I want to read, like probably next. So these were the books that I'm talking about. I want to read The Historian. This is like dark academia and also have to do with like Dracula. We have These Violence Delights by Micah Nemerever. Two boys that are rivals, and it's very much for fans of the secret history and it's very much dark academia. We have The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. This is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, and I know that the last season of The Handmaid's Tale is coming out. Not that it like relates, but it's about time that I read this, especially since I went for the signing back at the beginning of 2020. Like, it's been 4 years, you know. I have to stop procrastinating. I also have Yellow Face by R.F. Kuang, another book that I went for a signing and I procrastinated. That's me. That's my life. I've been pretty good this year, but the previous years, not so much. I also am reading some romantic poets, and when I talked about like nature poetry, especially Shelley poems, he's very big with nature. Really am enjoying this one. I have Lord Byron's selected poetry. Look at this handsome stud that created so much chaos in his lifetime. And I also have obviously William Blake, the complete poems. So I'm just making my way slowly. These might still be here by the time next year rolls around, but that's okay because I'm just enjoying reading it before I start writing every day. So yeah, that's it for the books on my desk that I'm currently reading and I want to read next. Obviously these are the bigger books, so that's why I leave them here so that nothing falls off my desk. So these were the books that I limited myself for my fall TBR, but knowing me, I am a moody reader, so I might skip some of these books, I might replace them, I might read other books. I have been doing a bad job of reviewing what I read in a month, but I am trying to get better at it. I'm trying to mostly fix my reviews before getting back to like reviewing books. I'm trying to film more videos that are vlog related and recommendation related versus just talking about what I've read, because sometimes when you talk about what you've read, you can't really go into details without spoiling it. So yeah, that's where I'm at when it comes to books and reading. And like I said, I do want to slow down my reading for the fall time because I am currently drafting a novel and I want to draft it fairly quickly, and I'm also editing a past novel because I want to find an agent and I want to get it traditionally published. So I want to self-publish a book and I want to traditionally publish a book, and we only have 90 days, 3 months left to the year, so I really need to hunker down and stop reading as much, but continue reading, obviously. So yeah, let me know, what are you reading during this fall season? Have you read any of these books? Are you excited to read any of these books? Have you started Sally Rooney's Intermezzo? Let me know, but don't spoil it. And I will see you on the next video. Bye!